My sister called me a nobody at our dad's birthday dinner, saying I'd failed in life. Then I slid my new business card across the table. Samantha Mitchell, CEO of MA Corporation, her new boss. I'm Samantha Mitchell, 34 years old, and for most of my life I've lived in the quiet shadow of my younger sister Celia. She's the kind of person who lights up a room and makes sure everyone knows it. Growing up, she won every trophy, every talent show, every ounce of attention. Meanwhile, I was the background character in my own family, polite, dependable, invisible. While Celia posted selfies at parties and called herself a rising star, I was grinding through college and quietly climbing the corporate ladder in cybersecurity. I never bragged, I didn't feel the need to, but that also meant no one noticed. At family gatherings, Celia would make these little jabs, Sam still lives alone, or she's doing something with computers, I think, and everyone would laugh like my life was some kind of slow, boring failure. I let it slide, thinking someday they'd see. But it wasn't validation I wanted, it was respect. Real, earned, unspoken respect. Then came Dad's 65th birthday dinner. The whole family was there, and Celia had just landed a new job at a major firm. She stood up, gave a speech about success, and threw in a smug comment about how she hoped her new boss wasn't another washed-up IT type. Everyone laughed, except me, because I knew something she didn't. I was her new boss. The look on her face when that truth came out, it was everything. Years of being underestimated collapsed in one moment. So if you've ever been quietly working, silently winning, while someone else got all the praise, stay with me. This story is for you. Drop a comment telling me where you're watching from, and hit like if you've ever proven someone wrong just by showing up and being undeniable. Growing up in suburban Boston, Celia and I couldn't have been more different. She was sunshine and center stage, always performing, always talking, always soaking up the attention. I was the quiet kid in the corner with business magazines instead of fashion ones, the ones sketching out fake companies in spiral notebooks, while Celia practiced for cheerleading tryouts. Our mom used to sigh and say, "Why can't you be more like Celia?" every time I skipped anything that involved crowds or glitter. Celia was the daughter everyone wanted to show off. I was the one nobody really noticed. They saw her trophies and crowns as proof she was destined for greatness. But my early online side hustle, the one that taught me about profit margins and customer service before I even had a driver's license, didn't count as real to them. Our shared bedroom said it all. Her side was covered in photos, ribbons, autographs from drama club. Mine had a corkboard with 5-year goals, a budget planner, and stacks of books. What's the point of doing all that if nobody knows? Celia would laugh, rolling her eyes. She needed praise like oxygen. I just wanted to build something real. High school didn't help. Celia ran the place. Prom queen, debate captain, student body president. Everyone loved her. Meanwhile, I went to school, worked part-time at an accounting firm after class, and used every spare moment to build experience. No one noticed. At graduation, the spotlight was all hers. When college came, my parents pulled out every stop to send Celia to Cornell. They drained savings, took out a second mortgage, threw a massive going-away party. Her acceptance letter was framed in the living room like a sacred scroll. For me, maybe community college first, then transfer, Dad said, almost embarrassed. I didn't throw a fit. I got a scholarship to a state university and worked 20 hours a week to cover what the scholarship didn't. I took internships, built a solid resume, and made sacrifices quietly while Celia posted party pics from Cancun during spring break. Mom even made a Facebook album titled Celia's College Adventure, filled with hundreds of photos. My graduation. One blurry shot Mom posted a day late, and I wasn't even fully in the frame. After college, Celia walked into a flashy marketing job in New York thanks to one of Dad's golf buddies. She got a high-rise apartment with financial help from her parents and immediately started crafting her picture-perfect life online. Every photo was champagne glasses, rooftop parties, luxury brands. Her captions screamed success, but no one ever asked what she actually did at work. Meanwhile, I accepted an entry-level job at a small financial firm in Boston. I lived with 2 roommates, cooked my own meals, and started building my reputation from the ground up. I got promoted twice by the time I was 27, but family gatherings? Those were Celia's stage. She'd walk in like a celebrity, drop off expensive gifts, and spin stories about closing multi-million-dollar deals that no one could ever verify. Once at Thanksgiving, she said the CEO personally complimented her pitch. When I mentioned that I'd led a new team initiative and doubled our client retention, Mom replied, "That's nice, dear," before turning back to Celia's tale about running into a celebrity client at brunch. I remember Christmas when we were both in our late 20s. Celia had just gotten engaged to Bradley, some investment banker she met through mutual friends in Manhattan. The ring was massive. My parents gave them $5,000, 0 cents for the engagement party, and kept talking about the future wedding like it was royalty-level stuff. At one point, Aunt Linda asked if I was seeing anyone, and before I could answer, Celia chimed in with a smirk, "Sam's married to her spreadsheets." Everyone laughed, even Mom, but what they didn't know, what no one bothered to ask, was that I had just been promoted to department manager. I was leading a team of 12, overseeing millions in client assets, and had earned every inch of it without favors, without filters, without applause, but sitting at that table, with wine glasses clinking, and Celia basking in everyone's praise, I felt invisible, again. So I smiled, took another sip of wine, and decided not to say anything. Why bother? They only wanted to hear from the daughter who made them feel proud in public. By the time we hit our 30s, the roles were locked in like some script no one bothered to rewrite. Celia, the golden girl with a glittery resume and endless stories, and me, the quiet sister, who was doing fine, I guess. I stopped sharing my wins because I was tired of watching them fall flat at family dinners. I wasn't bitter. I just realized I didn't need validation from people who only clapped when the spotlight was loud. After graduating with a business degree and a minor in information systems, I joined Thornton Solutions, a small but ambitious financial tech company in Boston. It wasn't glamorous. The pay was tight. The office was a half-frozen converted warehouse, but it was real. Richard, my first boss, told me on day one, "You'll touch every part of the business here." He meant it. I handled forecasting, product launches, even customer complaints. I worked late, took notes in meetings most people ignored, and learned more in 2 years than some people learn in a decade. Meanwhile, Celia was posting selfies in cocktail dresses from hotel rooftops in Paris, writing captions like "securing another global deal" that sounded more like fan fiction than facts. Still, everyone back home ate it up. No one asked for details. They didn't want the truth, they wanted the sparkle. When Thornton got acquired by Lincoln Financial, I stepped up big. I managed messy transitions, plugged gaps, and started to get noticed. That's when Eleanor Jenkins entered my life. A sharp, direct executive in her 50s, with no time for nonsense. She saw something in me that reminded her of herself. She said, "Being great gets you in the room. Playing the game keeps you there." I took her advice seriously. She pushed me into rooms I didn't think I was ready for: mergers, negotiations, board calls. When Lincoln merged into MA Corporation, Eleanor made sure I was on the transition team. It changed everything. At 32, I was named Vice President of Strategy and Innovation, overseeing a $90 million 0 cents budget and managing 65 people across 3 states. I bought a lakefront condo in Chicago, mentored young women in the field, and for the first time felt like wasn't just building a career, I was building a legacy. Back home, no one knew. I stopped sending updates when the last email I sent about a promotion got no reply. Celia, of course, was still center stage. Her career had taken a different turn. The Cornell glow dimmed fast. Her first marketing job in Manhattan lasted barely 8 months. She blamed a toxic director. The word got back to me through a friend of a friend that she had trouble meeting deadlines and often skipped out early. Her second job didn't last a year. "They reward tenure, not talent," she'd complain at holidays, as if she hadn't jumped ship twice. She kept chasing titles, marketing assistant, then marketing specialist. None of them a real leap forward, just new labels for the same role. But Instagram told a different story. High-end lunches, cocktail events, hashtags like Boss Babe and Marketing Queen. It looked impressive unless you looked too closely. The industry eventually did. After 6 years, her reputation caught up to her. Recruiters stopped calling. That's when she met Bradley. He was older, polished, and worked in investment banking. Their whirlwind engagement turned into a fast-tracked wedding, and suddenly Celia had access to a new circle, his circle. Through one of his connections, she landed a marketing coordinator position at MA's New York office. She told the family it was a strategic pivot, a way to align with a bigger brand. Truth was, it was a step down, but she played it well. At MA, she used her best skills, being likable, social, and polished. She got put in charge of events, client mixers, anything with a photo op. Her actual reviews? middle of the road. But people remembered her. When her manager went on maternity leave, Celia threw everything she had into securing the interim spot. She stayed late, showed up early, hosted every meeting like she was running for office. When her manager chose not to return, Celia was confirmed in the role. It was the biggest achievement of her career, and she was glowing with pride. I wasn't bitter. If anything, I was happy for her. But I knew she had no idea what was coming, because just weeks before Dad's birthday dinner, I had received a call from the board of directors at MA. After an intense process of interviews, presentations, and background checks, they had made their choice. They wanted me. I had signed the contract as MA Corporation's new chief executive officer, set to be announced publicly the following month. I had kept it quiet, no posts, no press. The transition had to be smooth, and besides, I wanted one more dinner where no one saw me coming, especially not Celia. The week before Dad's birthday, I sat in the boardroom of MA's Chicago headquarters, signing the contract that made me the youngest CEO in the company's history. Harold, the retiring CEO, shook my hand and smiled. "They're lucky to have you," he said, and the board applauded. The public announcement was set for 3 weeks later, after Harold's farewell gala. Until then, I had to keep it quiet. Still, I booked my flight to Boston with a strange feeling in my chest. At the hotel, I took a breath and reminded myself. They didn't have to know, not yet. But deep down, I knew something in me wanted the truth out. I wanted them to see who I had become, not for their approval, but because I was done hiding. The house buzzed with the usual noise, Aunt Linda cracking jokes, Uncle Robert retelling golf stories, and my cousin Melissa asking vaguely, "Still doing stuff with computer?" I smiled, sipped my wine, and gave her the easy answer. What was the point in explaining I was now leading 11,000 employees and overseeing a $20 billion zero-cents company? They wouldn't believe it. Then came Celia, fashionably late in a red designer dress, practically glowing. "Happy birthday, Daddy," she beamed, handing our father a designer watch from her so-called Milan business trip. The room lit up around her like always. She handed out gifts, dominated every conversation, and when her eyes landed on me, she gave that familiar smirk. "That dress is practical," she said, kissing the air near my cheek. At dinner, she kept checking her phone, clearly waiting for her spotlight moment. Then, like clockwork, she put her fork down and said, "I have news." The whole table leaned in. "I'm the new regional marketing manager at MA for the Northeast." Applause erupted. Mom teared up. Dad looked like he'd won the lottery. Celia stood tall, puffing up the role with phrases like multi-state leadership and strategic brand alignment. In reality, she managed 2 junior staffers in New York and Boston, but no one cared about facts. They just heard manager and saw sparkle. Then she turned to me, eyes gleaming. "What about you, Sam? Still in Chicago doing accounts receivable?" The table quieted. I smiled politely. "I'm at MA too," I said. She let out a laugh. "Wow! Both sisters at the same company, crazy, right? Though, very different tracks." She leaned closer. "Not everyone's built for the fast lane, huh?" I stayed silent. Mom tried to change the subject, something about the potatoes, but Celia wasn't done. "Hey, maybe I could help you out. I've got connections now. We could get you into an entry-level marketing spot, start you fresh." Dad shifted uncomfortably. "Celia," he warned, but she pushed through. "Seriously, when was your last promotion? 4 years ago?" I took a long sip of wine. "It's been a while," I said calmly. "That's what I thought," she said, toasting her glass. "To Dad's birthday and to excellence, not mediocrity." Then she turned and looked right at me. "Some of us shine, some of us just don't." The air went dead. Even Celia blinked, realizing she'd crossed a line. And that was it. I was done playing small. I reached into my purse and pulled out a business card. "Congrats on your promotion, Celia," I said. "But you should know something." I slid the card across the table. She read it. Her face dropped. "Samantha Mitchell, Chief Executive Officer, MA Corporation." Silence. My mother gasped, covering her mouth. Dad sat up straight, stunned. "That's not real," Celia stammered. "You're lying." I met her eyes. "The announcement is in 3 weeks. I signed the contract Thursday. I've been COO for 2 years. Dad's jaw dropped. "You were second in command?" Uncle Robert leaned in, whispering, "Now she's top dog." Celia's face flushed. "Why didn't you tell us?" I passed my phone to Dad, showing the email from the board. I kept it quiet for the company's sake, not to one-up anyone. Dad read it slowly, his expression shifting from disbelief to pride. "You're the CEO of all of MA?" I nodded. Celia pushed back her chair and rushed outside. Bradley followed, calling her name. Inside, the room was frozen. Then Dad chuckled softly. "All these years, and we had no idea." Mom looked heartbroken. "Why didn't you tell us, sweetheart?" I met her gaze. "Would you have believed me?" That landed hard. After a moment, I excused myself and went upstairs to the room Celia and I once shared. She was sitting on the bed, dress wrinkled, tears on her cheeks. "Is it true?" she asked. "Yes." I sat beside her. "I stopped sharing because no one cared." Her voice cracked. "I didn't know your work mattered. I just thought—" "You failed." She looked away. "You're not going to fire me, are you?" I smiled gently. "No, I keep family and business separate. Your job is safe." She looked back at me. "How did you do it, without the posting, the showing off?" I said quietly. "I played a different game. I let my work speak. I earned trust. I didn't need applause, I needed results. And in that moment, for the first time, my sister actually listened." That night marked a turning point, not just in how my family saw me, but in how Celia and I saw each other. We sat on the edge of our old twin beds and talked, really talked, for the first time in years. She said she always envied how sure I seemed, how I had direction, purpose, even when no one else noticed. I told her I used to wish I had her ease, her natural charm, how people always leaned in when she spoke. She laughed. "We're a complicated pair." And she was right. Downstairs, after a long pause at the bottom of the stairs, Celia returned to the table. Her voice wasn't loud or dramatic. This time it was soft, but real. "Happy birthday, Dad," she said, then turned to me. "Sam? Congratulations. I mean it. It's impressive." And for the first time in forever, it didn't feel like a performance. Dad looked at me and gave a small, proud nod. No speech, no fuss, just quiet acknowledgement, and somehow that meant more than anything. 1 month later, the official announcement dropped. Samantha Mitchell named CEO of MA Corporation, the headline read in the Wall Street Journal. The article called me a quiet powerhouse, noting my rise as one of the youngest female CEOs in finance. The stock jumped 4% overnight. I got flooded with emails, media requests, LinkedIn buzz. But the message that stood out came from Celia. Just 5 words. "Proud of you. Mean it." At a virtual company town hall, I saw her on the screen from the New York office. No posing, no camera tricks. She was taking notes, head down, focused. HR later mentioned she declined all interview requests related to our connection. She asked to keep things private, they said. I smiled and told them to respect her choice. That's growth, I thought. For both of us. At the next family barbecue, something felt different. People actually asked about my job and listened. No eye rolls, no quick subject changes. They wanted to understand. Celia stood beside me, sipping lemonade, and when asked about her work, she said simply, "It's challenging but rewarding. No inflated stories. Just truth." Later, while the kids chased fireflies and the adults shared wine on the porch, she turned to me and asked, "Were you ever jealous of me?" I thought about all the times I felt invisible and said, "Yeah, a little, when we were younger." She nodded slowly. "I used to envy your clarity. You always knew who you were. I'm trying to do that now. Focusing on results, not the spotlight. It's harder than I thought, but my team, they trust me more now." I smiled and tapped her glass with mine. "It lasts longer," I said, and we sat in silence, watching the night fill with tiny sparks of light. For so long, I hid my accomplishments to avoid drama. Celia, in contrast, chased applause that vanished as quickly as it came. But now, somewhere in between, we found a kind of peace. Not perfect, but honest. And that meant more than winning, more than titles or press coverage or family approval. Because real success, it isn't about proving people wrong or being the loudest in the room. It's about living your truth, doing the work, and being seen not for what others expect, but for who you really are. If you've ever felt underestimated, overlooked, or dismissed, I hope this story resonated with you. Drop a comment below and share your story. Hit like if you've ever proved someone wrong just by staying true to yourself. And don't forget to subscribe because, more than anything, your story matters. Your journey matters. Keep going. Quiet or loud, your path is valid, and it's leading somewhere beautiful.